I think I know what we're doing for a Christmas special this year.
Oh,
Jesus
has to be.
Christ.
Has to be. Beaker is juiced out of his head with a tribal chain tattoo on his arm.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes to any of those questions, this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons. Alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Ash has the week off. Each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all the information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, for video, if you'd like to catch us pre-recorded or live, be sure to follow us on YouTube, where you can catch a replay of our recent mailbag edition, plus other content that's coming along the way. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
Gene, in the long list of firsts for Shat the Movies, I think tonight is a very special one. Not only do we go back to the 70s, which we rarely do, this movie is like nothing we've ever done before, and it's a repeat commissioner who has Blazing Saddles in the shoot also coming up soon, our great listener, Ed. He wanted us to go back to 1979 and review the puppet musical road comedy, The Muppet Movie.
Ed's like, the 80s aren't old enough.
No.
Give me the sweet, sweet 70s.
And I think, Ed, if you want to commission some more, because I'm guessing you're up there in age, you can get them in the shoot right now. Guarantee while you're in hospice or you're in like care, we can get them to you by then.
Well, Ed writes, Dear Gene, Ash, and Big D, as far back as I can remember, I've always had great appreciation and fondness for the Muppets. Sesame Street was part of my daily routine in the early 70s, and from the very start, The Muppet Show became must-watch in my household. Even before he was host of the show, I always found Kermit to be relatable. If you haven't done so in a while, take another listen to Being Green. I've got a small list of movies I'd love for y'all to review, but I'd like to start with one that may have been our family's first VHS purchase, The Muppet Movie. What a cast. Yes, the sheer volume and diversity of cameos are a novelty, but just about every star plays their part with brilliance. The concept is simple. The jokes are corny, the resolution is predictable, and I love every sappy minute of this film. Certainly not for everyone. This movie is joy and targeted to the lovers, the dreamers, and me. I give this movie a half wipe and look forward to your review. Thank you, Ed. Well, The Muppet Movie is a musical road comedy produced by Jim Henson and the first theatrical film featuring the Muppets. Produced between the first and second half of the Muppet Show's third season, the film tells the origin story of the Muppets as Kermit the Frog embarks on a cross-country trip to Los Angeles, encountering several of the Muppets while being pursued by Doc Hopper, a greedy restaurateur. The film features cameo appearances by Dom DeLuise, Edgar Bergen in his final film appearance before his death, Steve Martin, and Mel Brooks. The Muppet Movie received critical praise, including 2 Academy Award nominations for the musical score and the song Rainbow Connection. The Muppet Movie was followed by 7 feature films starring the Muppets, as well as several more TV series. So, Big D, we always ask what your memories are of the film we're covering. Tonight is The Muppet Movie. We'll start with you.
I got to say, I'm glad that Ed commissioned this because this opened up Pandora's box of memories of going back to a time, and it's eye-opening to go back. I was a kid of the late 70s, early 80s, and back then, kids' content was almost non-existent. And this was a time, again, where at midnight, the TV shut off. You came up the flag, they played the anthem, you went to sleep, and in the morning, you had the barcodes. So there was only 2 things that I remember as a kid. I remember Saturday morning cartoons. You'd get up at like 6 a.m., the anthem would play again, and they would start kid cartoons, and then PBS. And PBS did, like Ed mentioned, there you had, for me, it was Mr. Rogers, it was Sesame Street, It was the Reading Rainbow, the Great Space Coaster. These were things as a kid that I really remember. Going back and doing the Muppet Movie, there's some shocking adult themes that, like, there was no kid gloves back then. It was wild, and maybe that's why my generation is kind of cool with everything, and it's kind of fucked up.
Okay, I'm familiar with Sesame Street. I grew up on that. Mr. Rogers' Reading Rainbow. What the fuck is the Great Space Coaster?
It was like pro literature. I think it was these kids on like a convertible roller coaster, and they would go through space. And, it's a blur. It's a blur. But it was just always trying to promote education. It was learning about different topics. But you look at the guest stars you listed in this movie, right? You're leaving out like Richard Pryor or Orson Welles. They could get A-list celebrities involved. Everyone bought in. It was just such a different time. And going back, this movie, man, it brought some warm and fuzzies.
I kind of backed my way into the Muppets. As a kid, like, everybody in my family learned English from Sesame Street. It was on all the time in our apartment in Queens. But I didn't really watch the Muppets, like the Muppet Show or any of the Muppet movies, until I discovered Muppets from Space in 1999. And I loved that movie. And that led me to watch several other Muppets movies. And I loved all of those too. But there were still a few that I just hadn't seen for whatever reason. One of them was this one, the Muppet Movie. The other ones were Muppet Treasure Island and The Muppets. It came out, I think it was 2011 or something like that, which feels like yesterday. But that movie's already a decade old.
Well, I'm going to talk about the 2002 full-length made-for-TV movie. It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas. Have you seen that one?
No, I've seen Muppet Christmas Carol, but I haven't seen Very Merry Muppet Christmas.
Oh, you just wait. We're gonna talk about this one.
All right, well, let's hit the trailer.
Here we go.
Jim Henson Home Entertainment presents
Muppet Movie, Scene 1A, Take 1.
It's the masterpiece that started it all.
Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection.
Come along with those lovable Muppets
My name is Kermit the Frog, and I'm on my way to Hollywood. Moving right along.
as they head off to Tinseltown,
I want you to turn left if you come to a fork in the road.
featuring an all-star, all-rockin' cast. Kermit the Frog,
I hope you appreciate that I'm doing all my own stunts.
Waka waka waka.
Fozzie Bear,
We'll be at tea.
the Great Gonzo,
Whoopee!
and everybody's favorite ham, Miss Piggy.
I am an actress model.
Can't you picture that? I hear this movie is dynamite.
Jim Henson's The Muppet Movie.
Kermit the Frog lives a simple life in a Florida swamp where he is approached by Bernie, played by Dom DeLuise, a talent agent who encourages Kermit to pursue a career in show business. Inspired by the idea of making millions of people happy, Kermit sets off on a cross-country trip to Hollywood. Along the way, he meets Fozzie Bear, who is working as a hapless stand-up comedian, and they set out in Fozzie's 1951 Studebaker. The two are soon pursued by Doc Hopper, played by Charles Durning, and his assistant Max, played by Austin Pendleton, attempting to convince Kermit to be the new spokesfrog of Hopper's struggling Frog Legs restaurant franchise. While fleeing, Kermit and Fozzie meet the rock band Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, Gonzo and his girlfriend Camilla the Chicken, and Sweetums the Ogre.
Well, I just want to let that soak in, everybody. So let that description soak in. So if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while, it is a movie within a movie. It is the origin story of the Muppets. And it opens with the screening room at the studio and all the Muppets, the main Muppets, not all of them, the main Muppets from the Muppet Show are in one room. And I was immediately struck by how diverse they all are. There is no continuity. Some are gigantic, some are small, some are like elaborate puppets. Some is just a guy with a furry hat and some gloves and slippers on. There's animals, people, there's creatures, monsters. There is no continuity. It does not look like these dudes belong in any world. There is no world or movie or any genre where these all should be in the same room. You look at Fraggle Rock. They're all Fraggles. Okay, we got the garbage pile. They're all somewhat similar. This obviously was the creation of some drug binge where people were sitting around drawing pictures, coming up with memories of people they knew. And it was wild. There's intricate backstories that I explored a little that as a kid went way over my head.
Again, this is one of those moments where it's like we're watching the movie together. I'm seeing this scene and thinking it is insane the amount of creativity that goes into Muppets. They are genius, and I'm not using that word lightly. It's just unimaginable how creative these people are. And there is no correlation between the complexity of a Muppet's design and how important he is. Like you mentioned, Big D, some of them are very elaborate. Other ones are super basic. Kermit, like he's arguably the most basic Muppet. He's like a pear-shaped green thing. His arms and legs are completely disproportionate. They don't look like frog legs or arms at all. And then he's got that weird, like, I don't know, frock collar thing going on. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to be. His personality, it's absolutely milquetoast. He's just kind of this meek guy who just kind of walks along, chill. He's pretty quiet, but he's the leader. And I just love the way that they kind of broke down while embracing certain overt characteristics of a chicken or a frog or anything else. They really subvert your expectations around every corner.
Oh, without a doubt. They sent people home, all the creators, and said, everybody work on your own and bring back what you got. And they just went through the list and picked them because, like you said, they all have these stories and they come alive. And that's something that Henson and his puppeteers could do. Everything looked real. And God damn it, there's a scene early on here where Kermit is riding a 10-speed bicycle through town. And there's no CGI. Everything's practical effects. And and I texted you, I said, Gene, this is the highlight of my 2023. I know how they did it. They did a wire above it and they strapped Kermit's feet to the pedals and his hands. But it is, Emma even said, I did a podcast with Emma. We'll probably add at the end of this, a little 6-minute thing. She said, how did they do that? And Henson said, I'm going to use the bigger budget here and we're going to push the limits. And I appreciated it. Most of the Muppet Show, it was set up. It was obviously a puppeteer hidden behind something, a box, a trunk, a car, a seat. This movie actually took it a step further. I had to keep reminding myself there was an actual person in the water. There was an actual person in the back seat of a car. And it was deceptive. They came up with creative ways to do it. Henson spent a full day in a 50-gallon drum submerged in a pond just to get Kermit to play the banjo on that opening song.
I was convinced that it was a green screen for the bicycle effect when I'm watching it because he's out there. There's things happening around him. You can't see the strings. You can't see what's controlling this thing. And it looks really trippy while also looking really weird. It's hard to explain. Like if you haven't seen this or haven't seen it in a while, go back and look at it. Something in your gut and in your head says, I don't know. And yeah, like you said, Big D, it was a fucking crane. They had a fucking crane with special strings and they were just moving him like a giant marionette. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
It's wild. And it was appreciated because the movie doesn't feel, it feels like an elevated version of the show. It was just not a full-length feature. They tried things that were different. And I appreciate in a movie where they push the technology. And this was an advance in puppetry that I think the world has never seen before.
I'm really disappointed that you didn't kind of show this sort of love for Labyrinth. I mean, Chili Down was right up there with Kermit on a bicycle.
Labyrinth would not have happened without this film.
Chili Down. The group meets Miss Piggy at a county fair, and she and Kermit immediately fall in love. At dinner that night, Hopper and Max abduct Miss Piggy and use her as bait to lure Kermit. When Kermit arrives to rescue Piggy, mad scientist Professor Krassman, played by Mel Brooks, tries to brainwash Kermit, but Miss Piggy furiously knocks out Hopper's henchman and causes Krassman to be brainwashed by his own device. Immediately after that fight, Miss Piggy receives a job offer and promptly abandons a devastated Kermit.
Okay, so I'm going to take our young listeners back again to 1979, to the early 80s, the time where cigarette commercials were on TV, alcohol commercials. There was nothing that was really entertainment for kids. It was just whatever the parents could sit down and tolerate that also the kids found funny. And I want to go into detail with some of the topics you just said. This movie features a Nazi doctor who is going to torture and lobotomize Kermit. Fozzie gets shot at in a bar. Kermit and Piggy have insinuated sex off screen. And the plot revolves all around Kermit being forced to promote frog genocide, and the villain hires a hitman to assassinate Kermit with a trident. This could not be done today.
Yeah, well, according to Jim Henson's son, Brian, he said that the Muppets was all targeted to adults, but it was also at the same time in the late 70s, everything had to be safe for the whole family. So it was whatever limits they could push while still staying within the bounds of family friendly. But think about how that's the opposite of what we see today. Like people say, oh, Disney stuff, it's got some subversive elements. It operates on multiple levels, and some of the levels are for the kids, but the parents, there's jokes in there for them too. But it's mainly for the kids, and they'll insert some things for the parents. This is the other way around. It's for the parents, but we have to make it palatable to an entire family. So just put shit in there the kids won't get.
Yeah, so this got me into the Muppet Wiki, and it got me down into some adult themes. So the Muppet Show and their movies have covered Muppet sex, Piggy's infidelity and her hooking up with multiple guest hosts, Kermit's girlfriends, Bert and Ernie's sexuality, pregnancy, because Piggy gets pregnant, Gonzo's weird attraction to chickens, which is proven he does. Animal also would hit on all the female guests. There was a weird thing with Bunsen and Beaker's relationship, master and slave. There was some S&M possibly going on there. Couples, divorce, drinking, smoking, drugs, guns, prison, torture device. There was a 1965, one of the first appearances of Rolf the dog, where he put a gun to his own head and joked about shooting himself because he was depressed. There were naked Muppets. There was a Girls Gone Wild, Chicks Gone Wild parody with Gonzo watching TV commercials about chickens getting naked. This shit's crazy. So now I want to just take everybody to that Muppet movie, right, that I talked about. It's called A Very Merry Muppet Christmas, and this is the world where Kermit was never born. This came out in 2002. This is it's like what is
It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah. So this is the Muppet version of It's a Wonderful Life. So Kermit, he's down and out, and he says, I wonder what it would be like if I wasn't here. Gonzo is homeless and depressed and a busker on the street. Rizzo the Rat ends up being featured with Joe Rogan on Fear Factory. Because Kermit did not defeat Hopper, now Hopper's Frog Legs is a widespread franchise around the world. The Electric Mayhem, they have to play like at a Mayhem's Celtic bar. So they're playing Irish tunes. You get Bunsen Honeydew is now a bartender with a soul patch at this nightclub. Sam the Eagle is also a glow stick waving, pacifier sucking rave dancer. Scooter is a cage dancer at the Dot Club. Beaker is a juice head. He's the bouncer at the club. He's muscular. So this shit continued into the 2000s. They just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. How did I not know this before today?
I think I know what we're doing for a Christmas special this year.
Oh, it has to be. Has to be. Beaker is juiced out of his head with a tribal chain tattoo on his arm.
One of the things we think about when we think about Muppets is like slapstick, right? It's Gonzo with a bunch of balloons and he goes flying in the sky. It's, pies flying around. It's dancing and a lot of these loud, overt, eye-catching spectacles. I noticed in this movie, actually, the parts that made me laugh the hardest were kind of the quiet jokes. The Muppet movie is not subtle by any means. I'm not saying that. But underneath all that noise and the antics, there's some really funny, quick comedy that's easy to overlook. Just sort of throwaway things that had me laughing the whole time. Those are the moments I laughed the hardest. Like when Kermit is entering town at first and he sees the fried frog legs billboard. And there's just like a quick, hey, what the... And then it zips right along into the next action. And that's what your reaction would be if you saw a fucking, sign that advertised fried human legs. Then there's those little throwaway lines like when he goes to El Sleazo Club. He just says, well, frogs got to eat. It makes this movie really quotable and really special without lingering too long on those jokes and leaving the space for the big ones that the whole audience is going to laugh at.
No, and poor Kermit, he's just unaware. He said something like later on that there's must be a lot of frogs around with crutches. He thinks that somehow these frog legs, the frogs are surviving. He doesn't know, and he lives in a very human adult world. There's people in the bar with guns. They're getting drunk. It is very adult, the themes. But then they will throw in a joke like Fozzie dresses up as the bearded bartender and says, drinks around the house. Everyone, of course, runs away, and all of them go up to the roof and say, there's no drinks up here. That bartender lied to us. And somehow it works.
I mean, I don't know if that joke worked.
It did.
It worked about as well as Fork in the Road.
Yeah, I was okay with that one, too.
Okay, so you're okay with those, but you have an issue with Spaceballs?
Well,
Jam the Radar? You hated that joke.
But it wasn't a kids movie subversively aimed at the adults. That was
This isn't a kids movie subversively aimed at adults. It's an adults movie that kids can watch.
Please give me a pass. I told everybody, Spaceballs, I was angry at Roger. I was passive aggressive, and I shit on the movie because I knew it would bother him. I'm sorry. It's a better movie than I scored it.
So here's the point in the podcast where I have to say I felt like I was crazy while watching this movie because we're talking about all this stuff happening. There's abductions, there's car chases, there's shooting going on, there's fights, guys getting their brains zapped. And you would think with all of that going on, this is a very fast-paced, very action-packed movie. And I don't know if it's just the attention span they had in the 70s, and maybe my brain's been pickled by like TikTok and Instagram, but this movie, it really felt like it was taking its time in a bad way. Like more modern Muppet movies like Muppets from Space, they seem to race at a frantic pace. It just go, 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 go. This one, it kind of felt like it was plodding along. And I was surprised to find that it was only an hour and 37 minutes because it felt much longer.
Yeah, I could feel it. It goes back to moments quite a bit. There are some repetitive jokes that we'll get to. Songs are played multiple times. They're going to Hollywood, and they're going to gather the group. But it's not clear how they're going to get there, who keeps popping up. It doesn't make much sense. I think the plot in the movie revolved around what they could shoot, so it does meander a bit. You could have trimmed it down, but again, then it wouldn't be the first Muppet feature-length film.
Well, joined by Rolf the dog and reunited with Miss Piggy along the way, the Muppets continued their journey to Hollywood, but their car breaks down in the desert. Kermit wanders off, ashamed for bringing his friends on a fruitless journey, but some personal reflection restores his commitment. He returns to camp where he discovers the Electric Mayhem have come to their rescue, having learned of their plight by reading ahead in the film's script. The Mayhem offer to drive the entire group the rest of the way in their bus. I love a movie that's self-aware. It's one of my criteria for a great comedy. And the Muppet movie plays a lot in that meta. It is very self-aware. They reference the movie's script several times. They foreshadow movie tropes, like when Dr. Teeth says, maybe we'll show up later and exploit your wealth. And they even address that disorder of the Muppet universe of how nothing matches when Kermit mentions that his friends are a bear, a chicken, a pig, and whatever Gonzo is. It's almost clever enough to make up for the relentless dad jokes like the fork in the road and drinks being on the house when it pokes fun at itself and it really plays with the fact that it is a film within a film.
And they tell us, they wink at us, and they let us know it's coming. There is the Hare Krishna, where the guy says, I've felt a bit lost lately. And someone in the bar says, well, have you tried Hare Krishna? Later on, somebody else says it again, and Kermit looks at him and goes, I guess this is going to be a reoccurring joke throughout the movie. And again, I think you're just taking up time. I think that's what they were forced to do. Hey guys, listen, feature-length film is at least an hour and 30 minutes. We got to throw in another Hare Krishna joke. If we could get another rendition of Moving Right Along, that'd be great. Maybe could Piggy and Kermit have another meal or a romantic date? Let's get that in there.
How do we get Richard Pryor in here? Steve Martin, anyway.
In a scene with Confederate flags. How could we do that? Let's get him at a Southern fair with Confederate flags. And you mentioned the Electric Mayhem. They are absolutely amazing. As a kid, I didn't appreciate the true musical mastery that they are. They can play any genre, funk. They play a lot of blues, jazz. They can play classical, I learned, if you force them to, but they do not like it. And everybody loves Animal. The main ones, Kermit, Piggy, Scooter, Animals on T-shirts. People love his little stuffed animals. And I don't know why. Why did he become the most popular merchandise Muppet? I don't think he's that interesting. He screams. He doesn't really play the drums. You don't know what he is. You got Dr. Teeth. He plays the keyboard. He's got vocals. You got Floyd Pepper. He's high and he's just spitting out this mystical knowledge and his philosophy of the world. You got Zoot, who's obviously had a head injury. This bald dude who plays the sax, he doesn't know what's going on. He zones out, and they're all like, hey, Zoot, where are you? He's like, well, man, here I am. And he appears. Janice, who's the opposite of Piggy. Piggy is a fame whore. Piggy wants to be in the movies and commercials. Janice doesn't care. She doesn't want to be up front. She's just all about her talent. And she rocks out. She can sing. She plays lead guitar. This band was great, and Animal is the least original of them all.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think it's the same as the Elmo effect, right? Animal is the Elmo of the core Muppets cast. He's a loud red thing that gets a lot of attention.
No, wrong. He is the Tasmanian Devil.
Okay.
That is the T-shirt.
I was trying to stick with Muppets, but all right.
Yeah, Tasmanian Devil. It's this non-distinct. What is it? It's not articulate, but it makes a great T-shirt. You can dress them up in your favorite team's jersey and get your Tasmanian Devil Eagles hat. Shit like that.
We did have a debate at Walter Station over beers yesterday about who the coolest Muppet was. And Louis the Shrimp was excluded from the conversation. So everybody else. And we decided that Floyd, definitely the coolest guy in the Electric Mayhem. Janice, though, the funniest band member.
Okay, but what are overall? Overall, give me 3 top.
For me, Louis and Rizzo are my 2 favorites of all time. Louis the Shrimp is fucking great.
Have you ever seen Peppy the King Prawn?
That's what it is. Peppy. Why do I keep saying Louis?
Yeah, Peppy's got like 4 arms.
Yes,
yeah.
Peppy. Thank you.
Peppy the King Prawn. Yeah.
I watched too much Interview with the Vampire. Louis the Shrimp.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm a huge Muppets fan.
Yeah. But again, I didn't know
Peppy.
most of the names. For me, Crazy Harry, the dude who just runs around with a plunger blowing shit up and electricity all the time.
What? Oh, yeah.
Dude, that dude is great. I also love Lou Zealand. He's the dude with the mustache and he's got like looks like a giant coffee filter around his neck. You know the thing from like what is it? From like Renaissance paintings.
Oh, like the ruffles?
Yeah, he's got the ruffles and he runs around throwing a boomerang fish. He's in the screening room. He throws that shit around. You got some also random characters like Bobo the Bear, who's that giant, like droopy headed security guard. But I think if I got to pick one more, Scooter, lame. And Scooter also, he got his job because the uncle owns the theater. So they're throwing in nepotism. Don't know if the kids actually got that one. But man, I'm just looking through a quick list here trying to see. I think Sam the Eagle. Sam the Eagle is sour. He's angry. And in the alternate universe where Kermit doesn't exist, he turns into a glow stick pacifier sucking rave kid. So for me, that dude is great.
You just reminded me that I forgot I had excluded them because they were people, but Statler and Waldorf.
Oh,
I mean, as host of a movies podcast, Statler and Waldorf. I mean, those are our idols.
Just so sour.
Well, the group is warned by Max that Hopper has hired an assassin, Snake Walker, to kill Kermit. So Kermit proposes a Western-style showdown in a nearby ghost town. There, they find inventor Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his assistant Beaker, who apparently are the scientific version of Depeche Mode. Kermit confronts Hopper with an appeal to Hopper's own hopes and dreams, but Hopper is unmoved. The Muppets are saved when one of Dr. Honeydew's inventions, Instagrow pills, temporarily enlarges Animal, who frightens away Hopper and his henchmen for good. So, Big D, I think it's still fresh in our memory when Jim Henson died. It was a pretty big deal. I think the effects were much more wide-ranging across different demographics than many of the celebrity deaths of the past 20 years. The words on everyone's lips back then were imagination and cool, right? The former is pretty impaired. We've talked about it. The imagination of Jim Henson, unparalleled. I didn't realize how cool this entire creative team was, starting from Jim Henson on all the way down on the Muppets. Like, the guy was just absurdly cool. The Muppet Movie, it has it on full display. This is 1979. They're talking about opening coffee shops. They're talking about organic food, all these bluesy riffs, like you mentioned with the Electric Mayhem. And there's like these little subversive takes on patriotism, like when they're like, okay, now's the patriotic part of the movie, you know, and they got Fozzie singing America the Beautiful while they're doing those Soren shots. It feels like it's like a puppet show created by a classic rock band. This isn't made by corporate stiffs. This isn't made in some sort of a focus group, right? This was art.
Very true. Very true. Besides the quality of the product, the diversity of what they could do. It wasn't just this aimed at kids. You had Labyrinth, which you mentioned before, The Dark Crystal. There was no limit to what they could create. And for some reason, they were tolerated. Nobody seems to have put any restraints on anything. They did political jokes. They did jokes, like I mentioned, about every sexuality, every vice, it was, I don't know if today a true genius like Henson would be allowed to have the freedom to create. But back then, man, there was nothing he touched. It could be wild and fail to be funny, but you still had to sit back and say, I got to respect him for creating that in-depth character. It wasn't just a nameless furry blob that would walk around and say, hello. No, they had deep, in-depth backgrounds and origin stories that took time, care, and love to create. And that's why he influenced the next generations of creators that we're even enjoying today.
The Muppets reach the Hollywood studio and finally meet studio executive Lou Lord, played by Orson Welles, who signs the Muppets to a standard rich and famous contract. On the Muppets' first attempt to perform their script, an explosion blows a hole in the roof of the studio, but a rainbow shines through the hole and onto the Muppets. Joined by other Muppet characters from Sesame Street, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and the Land of Gorch, the Muppets all sing together. Sweetums then tears through the movie screen in the theater, ending the film and catching up with the rest of the crew as they congratulate each other on their performances. So I want to talk about Orson Welles for a second. I have a really bad habit of forgetting that certain megastars of the mid-century were alive during my lifetime. I feel like there was just like a break, right? Where it was like, oh, all the 50s, 60s, 70s guys, and then I was born and those guys just disappeared. No, Orson Welles, Steve McQueen, Alfred Hitchcock, John Lennon, Mae West, those people were all alive during my lifetime, which is mind-blowing. And when Orson Welles turned around in that chair, I thought they found an impersonator who looked a lot like Orson Welles because it's color. He's, he looks, I mean, I know he died, I think a couple of years after that, but he looked good and powerful. And it's just mind-blowing to think that this movie captured an era that was the bridge between everything that came before us and then our lifetimes.
So when we get into the executive's office in the studio, it's going to be a big star. We've had cameos of every comedian from the 70s and 80s who was influential. I'm thinking, who could this be? This has to be a megastar to run the studio. Through my head, I'm thinking like Charlton Heston, John Wayne. I'm thinking guys like that. Orson Welles was the right way to go, and I think he had the gravitas to pull this off that you said, yes, Orson Welles makes sense. But Gene, if anybody loves an ensemble ending, we know that is you. You love when a movie comes full circle and we get to see everything closed up with a pretty little bow. And this movie gives it to us in spades. The final Rainbow Connection song on a movie set with all the movie props. All the Muppets come together now. This isn't just the Muppets from the movie. This is all of Jim Henson's created characters. 250 Muppet characters appear. This is virtually every Muppet ever created to this point, and Henson gathered 137 puppeteers to perform all 250 characters in one scene. The puppeteers all had to climb into this 6-foot deep, 17-foot wide trough. In a single day, they shot it and brought them all to life. It is perfect. The song is emotional. All the characters, you see them there in this one world, and they fit together even though they don't. It was perfect. The song singing, life is a movie, make your own ending. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And it's the first time that I realized the big influence that Henson has had on my childhood, other people's childhood, that it's something that's there below the surface. And it was stunning to see all of them together in one place and realize that this helped shape my childhood.
I agree that final song is earned, and I enjoyed all 5 minutes of it. Like, it was just a masterpiece. It's beautiful. But man, the other songs in the movie we haven't really talked about. I mean, you kind of took a couple pot shots at them, but we really need to talk about the fact that these songs felt really, really long. Like, they just seemed to keep going on and on. Here's the weird thing. They're not that long. So I would say 4 minutes is about the point where a song goes from a normal length to kind of long. Most of these songs, 3 minutes or shorter, but they felt like forever.
I mean, moving right along is obviously filler. They don't go anywhere. They're not actually like making progress, and they play it multiple times. You're not moving right along. You're staying in the same place. Moving right along. No, you're not moving.
But even Rainbow Connection, which people have, a deep emotional link to, the movie opens up. You got the helicopter shots going into the swamp. You're searching. Where's Kermit? Where's Kermit? Beautiful kind of Everglades sort of thing going on there. Rainbow Connection comes in. You're like, oh yeah, this one. Like, this is nice. And then it just keeps going. And then it keeps going. I'm like, okay, I don't really care about Rainbow Connection anymore. Like, it drags. And I think part of that too has to do with the fact that when these songs are sung in Muppet voices, It's also harder to pick out the lyrics, and it just kind of becomes an act at that point.
Listen, if you stick Jim Henson in a 5-gallon drum in the middle of a damn lake, there's limits to what you can do. Okay, you're going to get the shot. We're doing the whole song. I understand it. Today, you wouldn't do it. You'd have a little bit of the song, then other characters would come in. You'd cut to other scenes. This is like a stage performance. You couldn't do it. I give it a pass. And yes, maybe I was harsh on Labyrinth too. I'll go back and review that. But it felt longer. It definitely did. You could have come up with some jazzier tunes. Maybe Henson's weakness was music. The man had a flaw.
All right, now's the time in the podcast where we give our Shat score for the Muppet Movie. Zero Wipes is a perfect movie. It is one of the finest wines in Idaho. And 5 Wipes is an absolute disaster movie. It is being invited on a Muppet road trip to Hollywood, but being left behind because you needed a minute to grab your ogre-coordinated luggage. Big D, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for the Muppet Movie?
Okay, so for Ed, I really love you. I watched this movie twice. I watched it once by myself, and then Emma wanted to watch it with me, and we have recorded a little 6-minute podcast. I'll throw at the end here. And the concept of the film is good, and Emma picked up on it. She said it's a movie within a movie where they're filming a movie and then they're watching the movie. That concept is great. The way that they were able to push the boundaries of puppeteering. I'm a man who loves my puppeteering. I really do love my puppeteering. This pushed it. It was groundbreaking. Gene, you talked me down. I was going to go 2 wipes because I thought this was such a key moment, but I have to be true that you're right. The songs drag, the execution, and we didn't need to see so many romantic moments between Piggy and Kermit. You know what? I know I like the Gone with the Wind reference in the boat, but we didn't need to see it. It didn't advance the plot. It didn't develop the characters. They were trying to fill out that hour and a half. So I'm going to go 2.5, half worse than I would have, but it's an average film. Plot drags it down. Puppeteering raises it up.
I think I judged this movie based on some of the Muppet movies that came after it. And as a fan of this genre, I suppose, I would give most of them, like Muppets from Space, was it Muppets Take Manhattan? Like, I think those are some spectacular films that would be 1 wipe or fewer. Here, I've got to say that this was a bit of a disappointment. Not even average, honestly. I respect it as sort of an origin for the Muppets, but we have to also acknowledge the fact that the Muppets existed before this, right? So this wasn't the creation of the Muppets. That would be very different. And the Muppet Show at this time was better than this movie. The movie is worse than the show. And I think that that's a big indicator as well. So for me, it's going to be 3 wipes. And between the two of us, Big D with 2.5 wipes and me with 3 wipes, it gives us an average wipe score of 2.7 wipes for the Muppet Movie.
Well, Gene, that now ties us in the 204 spot with some very different films. Kingpin, Robot Jocks, and Notting Hill. Those are slightly better than Big, License to Drive, and The Wrath of Khan, and slightly worse than 12 Monkeys, Crocodile Dundee, and L.A. Story.
Steve Martin, he's all over this one.
All over this place, all over. Yeah,
all right. Well, thanks, Ed, for the commission, and thank you for exposing me for the first time to the Muppet Movie. And now we'll move on to some voicemail we have from listeners. Lots of calls that came in. And again, if you missed our mailbag episode, it is up right now on YouTube. You can check it out. And we'll do our best to release it as a podcast as well. But let's move on to our voicemail. And the first one comes from Jeff in Nebraska.
Hey, Shat Crew. This is Jeff from Nebraska. Longtime listener, first-time caller. I just finished up listening to your back-to-school episode and immediately got online to make a commission for another great higher education movie, 1994's PCU. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this classic, but I'd love to get your opinion, especially yours, Ash, since you work in academia, on how some of the themes of everyone being so concerned about being politically correct, they forget to just have fun, and how those compare in today's culture on campuses and in society. Plus, don't forget the great cast with the young Jeremy Piven, Jon Favreau, David Spade, Jake Busey, and the legendary Jessica Walter. Maybe this can sneak its way into the lineup for back-to-school time this year with the help of some other commissioners, or else maybe in 2024. Anyway, keep up the great work. Love the pod. Thanks.
Jeff, I know I've seen PCU, and I know I saw it in the theater, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, Jeff is the man. He came through. It is Jeremy Piven. He lives, I think he's like a bunch of stoners. It's like I don't think they're a fraternity, but they live together in this house. And there's one kid watching TV, and he has some crazy thesis about something is on all the time, and it's all about the kids on campus complaining about everything. And I think a lot of what the movie predicted, I think, does come true. But it may be that one time that Piven, I thought he was tolerable. And again, he came through. This comes out in a year, May 7, 2024.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Jeff, so much for your voicemail and your commission. Look forward to doing PCU for you. Next up, we have one from Matt in Australia. And if you missed our mailbag episode, Flash Gordon was a oft-explored topic. Most people taking Big D's side in it and saying that it was a quality film. Matt in Australia has got some different ideas.
I don't think they were saying quality. They were saying that it was a stylized version, that there was an intent behind the campiness. The quality we can argue with, but it was with a purpose.
Hey, Shat the Crew. Love the show. My name's Matt from Adelaide in the land down under. I felt that I had to ring up and just clarify a few points, especially after listening to messages recently that someone sent in that told Big D to go with his heart.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, especially with Flash Gordon. I saw this movie when it was released in the cinemas. I didn't run home like Big D and go and watch it on television. I saw it on the big screen. And all I can say is it's a pile of steaming shit. They are not doing tongue-in-cheek here. They are acting like it's a serious movie. And it is worse than Howard the Duck, Crow, and Captain EO put together. It is a pile of hot, steaming shit sandwich. And you cannot give it a 0.5. It is way better than all the other movies that you ever have marked that high. Anyway, just thought I'd take the time to say, yeah, Flash Gordon, nah. Love you all. Great listening to you. Thank you so much for entertaining me all the time. Until next time, Matt from Adelaide, out.
It kind of hurt.
Yeah, when we did the mailbag and I was reading all these points about Flash Gordon, I was almost convinced. Like I got gaslighted. I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I was being harsh. Maybe I didn't understand the movie. But Matt has confirmed my suspicions that no, it's just not a good movie.
You see, but again, Matt, maybe he saw it in the theater. So he went out with the intent that he probably saw the commercial and was like, this is going to be a great space opera. This is going to be epic. And he was misled. So that was why he paid money, got there, was disappointed. Me, I never had that expectation. The kids at school were talking about it, talking about how wild it was. And it was on a TV screen. So again, maybe we lost something in the transition there. But I respect your opinion. And again, maybe, half a wipe. It's a bit, I can't help it. Red Dawn, this. Listen, there's no logic behind it. It comes from the heart. The heart wants what the heart wants.
If Big D had a poster, underoos, or bed sheets that featured the movie, he is incapable of giving it anything worse than a half a wipe.
That's true. That's very true.
It's the Shat. Law of Shat. All right, Matt, thank you so much for calling in from Australia. Loved your voicemail. Next up, we have a double, and this one is coming from Melissa with a little more criticism for the pod.
All right, so I like giving you guys a chance, but the chick during the back to school episode, all I wanted to hear about was a run through the movie and people criticizing the actual film, not criticizing, but in a funny way. I don't give a fuck how big Rodney Dangerfield's eyes are. That is a personal preference for the person, and it doesn't need to suck up 5 minutes in the podcast. My God. So, tried to like it, but no.
Well, did she have a problem with the whole podcast or just that episode?
I mean, listen, I got to say, if somebody's listening to us to hear whether or not they should watch a movie that came out 40 fucking years ago, this might not be the right place for it. If you're looking for in-depth analysis of a film, I don't know if this is the right place for it. The personal stories that we share and our personal observations and the way it impacted us or connects to something in our life or even our experiences together, that's kind of the core of the show. Like you take that away and all you've got is basically a serious analysis of Back to School starring Rodney Dangerfield. That to me is a waste of time.
I mean, honestly, our podcast has a toilet roll as like the logo, right? We Shat is we're gonna shit on the movies. We're gonna, but yet people keep coming to us like we're legitimate critics.
Yeah, and Rodney Dangerfield does have huge, crazy eyeballs.
He really does. But I wonder where the police were going to in a hurry. Where was she calling from? Newark? Where was she calling from?
It sounded like it.
I don't know. Yeah, but she called back.
Jersey
again,
City. Yeah, she did.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's see if the police are after somebody else in Jersey.
We can follow this up with a part 2 because I'm about 10 more minutes into it. And it's the chick talking about her experience in college. Listeners don't care.
They do.
They want to hear what the topic is.
Respect your opinion.
Not about, my parents' now is hungover and, God, his eyes are so big. That really does not interest listeners. Thanks. Bye.
Now it's got me questioning everything. Like when we talk about your Mardi Gras orgy, or the talk about me naked in a sleeping bag during Bram Stoker's Dracula. Do you not care about that, Melissa? These are important topics.
I want to know more about Melissa, but Melissa's passionate, so I can't go against anything she said. Indifference will kill me. Passion, I love it. Call back again. All right.
And by the way, the chick is Ash Elslizo Craftsman, and integral part of the podcast. And I like Ash's stories, but that was a great impersonation.
It was very good. Very good.
If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, just go to shatpod.com, use the SpeakPipe feature. We'd love to hear from you. You can use it on any device. And always you can write in at host@shatpod.com and leave us an email if you are microphone shy. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week is one of I think it could be a Mount Rushmore, depending on the size, of 80s comedies, you think? You're gonna go with me on that?
I mean, listen, so when I saw it as a kid, I didn't understand that it was a comedy. I thought it was very sexy. It shaped me. It shaped me in ways I think that had ripple effects throughout my life about my tastes, and also just there was a bit of body horror in there when you're a child. I'm excited to see it as a comedy, but I will say that it is undeniable. Anybody sees this movie cover or hears the word, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Gene, this was something that was okay for the whole family to watch. It started the Tom Hanks family movie night, I think, where everybody, it was something the family could rally around. And us as young boys, we got some side boob, we got some naked mermaid, and this was a hot moment for a lot of young boys. And this movie tells the tale of a young boy saved from drowning by a beautiful mermaid and falls in love with her 20 years later when she returns to seek him out. Before he can choose between a life on dry land or deep sea paradise with his dream woman, the lovers are rudely interrupted by an intervention of a scheming scientist commissioned by Stephanie Q. Came out in 94. Ron Howard, Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah, Eugene Levin, John Candy, and it made $69.8 million. You know what it is, people.
I'm just imagining what we really need is a Muppets crossover.
Oh, we get the Statue of Liberty and naked topless mermaid, Tom Hanks. Woo! This is a little boy's dream.
Yeah. And a Disney movie at that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look forward to that one. Thank you, Stephanie, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Ed, for commissioning the Muppet movie. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen, and don't talk about ourselves at all. You can find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already, because we're going to be putting out a lot more content through YouTube. In addition to that, we are going to be experimenting with YouTube Live to see if more of you like that than Twitch. And if it's a success, we're going to be YouTube people. So we appreciate you going and subscribing there if you haven't already. On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D and Ash, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
Alan Bauer has a very successful business.
Okay, Bauer, you're ruined. You're finished. You're a ghost in this business.
How'd you like some bananas at cost?
Deal.
He's got the wisdom and support of his brother Freddie.
I love this guy. Do you hear me? I love him. Give me a kiss. What's the matter? You too big? Give me your...
I just want to meet a woman. I want to meet a woman and I want to fall in love. It's not much.
And worst of all, Alan Bauer feels with all his heart that he doesn't have one.
Freddie, something in here is not working.
There are worse organs not to be working.
Where to? Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
And then, one day, accidentally, from out of the blue, it happens. Just looking at her is pure ecstasy. Just touching her is a lifelong fantasy come true. Just being in love with her plunges him into a wondrous world of rapture and enchantment. Just one problem stands in his way. A little secret she's trying to keep all to herself.
There is a mermaid in New York City.
How come she's got legs?
She has legs out of the water. She has fins in the water.
What about a woman showing up naked in a public place, Freddie? Well, I'm bored, of course. Can I come in?
No!
All right, let me in.
I'll be right there. I'm just changing.
That girl is a mermaid.
All my life, I've been waiting for someone, and when I find her, she's a fish. Nobody said love's perfect. She's really hungry.
Daryl Hannah, Tom Hanks, and John Candy. Splash, a fantastic tale about a fantastic tale.
Come on in, the water's fine.
So, Emma, what movie did we just watch?
The Muppet Movie.
Okay, this movie came out in 1979.
Yep.
Were you alive back then?
No.
No, okay. So I was 6 years old. So what did we think? Did you know the Muppets before this movie?
No, but it was actually really good.
Really good. Okay. Were there any characters that you liked?
I liked Max. I liked Kermit, Piggy, and I liked, yeah, that's it.
I liked Crazy Harry, that he likes to blow stuff up. I also liked the guy with the fish boomerangs. I liked Dr. Teeth. I thought Fozzie was good. I liked Ralph. I liked Beaker.
Oh, yeah, I like Beaker, too.
Okay, and I liked Gonzo, even though it was kind of weird that he liked chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you saying about the movie, that it was kind of like a movie about a movie?
Yeah, so, like, we're watching a movie, and then they're watching a movie, and then they're making the movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a movie and a movie and a movie.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And it was kind of cool. And what did you think about Piggy and Kermit dating each other?
It was awkward.
Yeah, I don't think that Miss Piggy treats Kermit very well.
Yeah.
I think he could do better.
Yeah.
Maybe he could find another chicken, or maybe he could find some other animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Piggy, she's got crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And crazy fashion.
Yeah, she's got crazy fashion. What about the band? Right, the band, the Electric Mayhem.
I liked that band.
Okay, so everyone seems to like Animal.
Yeah.
I don't know why. He's not my favorite.
Yeah.
So which one do you like? You can see them there. We're looking at them right now, so you can.
Yeah. So I like the bottom one, the one with the chicken, and.
Well, that's Gonzo. He's not in the band.
Yeah, I like him. But the band, I like the one with the teeth.
Yep. Dr. Teeth.
Yeah.
I like Floyd.
I like the girl.
Yep. Janice.
Yeah.
Yep. I like them all. I thought it was really creative.
Yeah. And if they would have to be a choice of the crazy one, I would have to choose Animal.
You liked Animal?
Yeah, he was the craziest one.
No, Jack was crazy.
Yeah, but I would think Animal was the craziest.
Okay, so I noticed also there was a scene where they were doing a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
You didn't know what a beauty pageant was?
No, I didn't.
But what did you think of their bathing suits? Did you like them?
No.
No? Why?
They looked naked.
Naked? No, those were just giant, ugly 1970s swimsuits. So, overall, would you recommend that your friends watch this movie?
Not Bantina.
No, but what about your other friends?
Yes.
Like if somebody said, hey, Emma, how's the Muppet Movie?
Yes, only my other friends, but Skylar, Bounty, and I wouldn't recommend watching this.
I mean, we were talking before that this was 1970. There was no computers.
Yeah.
No special. No phones.
No phones. No electronics.
No special effects. So every scene, there was a guy or a girl with a puppeteer, like controlling.
Yep.
So scenes for me, like the bicycle one, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and when the bear was driving the car, too.
It looked like he was driving.
Yeah.
The only one that I didn't think looked good was the
balloon.
Yeah, you could tell he wasn't really floating. He wasn't.
Yeah. It was like straight compared with the sky. Yeah, it didn't match at all.
Yeah. So there are some other Muppet movies. Would you be interested in possibly watching those?
I don't know. I'll think about it.
Really? So you weren't like a big fan of it?
Yeah. Not a big fan.
No, like what would you have rather watched?
I would rather watch Wednesday.
Well, you're too young for Wednesday. Gotta be a little bit older for that. Okay, but this was good talking with you. Thank you for staying up. What time is it now? What time is it? Look.
12:20.
It is 12:20 in the morning or at night?
At night.
And you stayed up. Why?
Because I wanted to watch this movie.
Why? So we could do something?
Yeah, so I could do a podcast with you.
Yeah. Yes, we'll see if people like it. Maybe we'll review some other movies.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about this? Anything else? What was your favorite moment?
Probably when the chicken and what's his name?
Gonzo.
Yeah, when they were getting the balloons. And the chicken was hugging Gonzo.
Yeah, the chicken.
For all the balloons.
Yeah, the chicken. So the guy selling the balloons was right.
I know.
If you want to get a girlfriend and make her happy, you give them lots of balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope no boys are giving you balloons. Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening. Emma, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
You're welcome.
And maybe we'll hear from you soon. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.